it feeds the problem of proliferating nuclear weapons.
Do you also worry about nuclear plants being potential targets for terrorists?
Yes, myself, I don't think of that as a bar to nuclear power, because there are a lot of things that are potential targets, and we need to equip ourselves to protect them. It's one of the problems, for sure. The nuclear waste storage issue is one of the problems. But I think the bigger problems are the cost, the long time for construction, and also the problem that if other countries make a massive commitment to it, we make the problem of nuclear weapons proliferation worse.
Let's talk about T. Boone Pickens. I recently talked to T. Boone Pickens about his whole idea of wind power along this wind corridor in the central part of the United States. What do you think of that?
He's obviously a very smart guy. He's been very successful, and I'm impressed that after such a long and successful career in the oil business, he's done the numbers and figured out that huge investments in windmills are going to make him money and help the country. So I think that he has a lot of credibility when he says we can't drill our way out of this. He knows what he's talking about, and that we should go to renewable sources.
He wants to replace the electricity we get from natural gas with wind power, use that natural gas to power automobiles.
Yeah, some people see that as kind of a shell game. I think it's a respectable idea. I would prefer to take our cars and trucks and move directly to electric vehicles and not take the intermediate step of trying to equip them to use natural gas. But he has the same basic idea of shifting away from oil and coal, not betting overly heavy on nuclear, but instead making massive investments in renewable energy. That's the keystone of his plan. Andy Grove at Intel has a similar plan. So a lot of our senior business leaders are telling us these are not normal times. We cannot continue to bring in 70% of all of our oil from overseas and keep seeing the price and keep doing it while the price goes up and up.
Which must be gratifying for you to have these Republican business leaders saying, you know, we want to jump on this bandwagon. We have to.
Well, yes. I've long argued that this should not be a partisan issue. And I'm gratified that a lot of people, regardless of political party, are looking at the facts and saying, yes, it's time to move in a big way. And the reason I put out this strategic goal of shifting all of our electricity generation over a 10-year period to renewable sources, and if they can capture and safely store the carbon from fossil fuels, that can be a part of it, but we can't count on that. We need to shift over to renewable energy.
You know, I don't remember exactly all the factors, but some critics say, you know, solar and wind is not the panacea some people think. It's very expensive. Usually in the summer months, there's less wind when people need more electricity. I sort of read some recent reality check on these alternative energy sources. Do you think you're putting too much stock in these as a panacea for our energy problems?
Not at all, because the older conceptions about solar power and wind power are giving way to the new developments that these scientists and engineers have come up with. Because the price of oil and coal have been going up so much, there's been a lot of investment in getting better ways to convert solar energy into electricity and wind into electricity. That cost has been coming down while the oil and coal has continued to go up. It's now right at the point where it's competitive, and it's true that wind power comes and goes with the wind, but the solar plants that are in the desert areas where the sun's almost always shining, they're pretty steady. And the production actually matches the times of day when we need the most electricity. And the steadiness of that solar power can even out the peaks and valleys of the wind. If you do them both together, they fit like a hand in a glove.
In his press conference this week, President Bush said it would be presumptuous for him to ask the American people to sacrifice more to deal with this current gas crisis, etc. Do you think it's presumptuous to ask the American people to conserve?
I think that the American people are willing to take a clear view of what our future requires. And now with these gasoline prices continuing to go up, electricity rates climbing rapidly. They know that the oil and coal are not going to come back down in price. They're going to continue to get more expensive. And the new efficiency and improvements that have been made in solar and wind are making them much more attractive. It is time now to make a national commitment to switch over to these renewable systems. And then we can break free of the rising prices from carbon fuels, oil and coal, and we can break free from our dependence on foreign sources like the Persian Gulf.
It really is multi-tiered, isn't it? I mean, it's a national security issue, it's an environmental issue. I mean, it really covers the gamut.
One of the reasons why our country's had such a hard time dealing with this is it does involve national security, energy, the economy, and the environment. But there's a common thread that runs through all of it. The key is ending our dependence on carbon-based fuels. And if we grab hold of that thread and pull it, the other problems begin to unravel, and we've got the answer right in our hands. It's to switch over from carbon-based fuels to renewable energy.
John McCain